Orphan girl fed 2 starving dragon cubs. Week later, entire dragon army came to adopt her. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. In the shadow of crumbling buildings at the edge of New Haven settlement, 11-year-old Lily Barrett huddled beneath a makeshift shelter of scavenged metal and plastic. The acid rain pattered against her roof, creating a melody that had become the soundtrack to her lonely existence since the Great War between humans and dragons had claimed her parents 3 years ago. Orphaned during the height of the conflict, Lily had learned to survive on the outskirts of society. The settlement guards tolerated her presence but offered little aid. Resources were scarce, and an extra mouth to feed was viewed as a burden rather than a responsibility. She had grown accustomed to scavenging the wastelands between the human settlement and the dragon territories, areas most adults feared to tread. What Lily lacked in physical strength, she made up for with a keen eye and quick reflexes. She could spot valuable tech in the rubble from 20 paces and duck behind cover before sentinel drones completed their scan cycles. The wastelands were dangerous, but they provided her with tradable items and, occasionally, untouched food rations from abandoned military outposts. The rain finally subsided, and Lily emerged from her shelter, her small backpack slung over one shoulder. Today's expedition would take her to the Eastern Ridge, a new area she had spotted from her perch atop the settlement wall. The ridge appeared to contain the remains of what might have been a supply depot, and if luck was on her side, she might find enough to trade for a proper meal and maybe even a new pair of boots before winter set in. The Eastern Ridge was farther than her usual scavenging grounds, but Lily had planned carefully. She had saved a protein bar from her last successful trade and carried her precious water bottle, a luxury few in New Haven could afford to lose. The journey would take most of the day, but the potential rewards outweighed the risks. As Lily navigated the treacherous terrain, she kept her eyes peeled for sentinel drones and other hazards. The war might have reached a tentative ceasefire 2 years ago, but neither side fully trusted the other. Automated defense systems from both human and dragon forces still patrolled the no-man's land, programmed to neutralize any perceived threats. The dragons, a spacefaring race that had arrived on Earth a decade ago seeking refuge from their dying world, had established territories in what was once the Pacific Northwest. Their advanced technology and natural abilities had made them formidable opponents when the initial diplomatic relations soured. Humans, despite their inferior technology, had fought back with characteristic tenacity and ingenuity, leading to a devastating war that had reshaped the continent. By midday, Lily reached the ridge and felt her heart sink. The supply depot had been picked clean, likely by other scavengers who had discovered it before her. She kicked at a broken crate in frustration, a rare display of emotion for a girl who had learned that survival required control and caution. The sound of her boot connecting with the crate echoed through the quiet landscape, followed by a faint whimper that froze Lily in place. She tensed, her hand moving to the small knife at her belt, her only means of protection. The whimper came again, weaker this time, from behind a partially collapsed wall. Curiosity overpowered caution, and Lily crept forward, peering around the edge of the crumbling concrete. What she saw made her gasp. 2 dragon cubs, no larger than house cats, lay huddled together on the ground. Their scales, which should have gleamed with the metallic luster characteristic of their species, were dull and covered in dust. Their wings, delicate membranes that would one day carry them through Earth's skies, were folded awkwardly against their bodies. Lily knew she should leave immediately. Dragon cubs meant adult dragons nearby, and adult dragons meant danger. Yet something about the pitiful sight kept her rooted to the spot. The cubs were clearly starving and possibly orphaned, a fate Lily understood all too well. One of the cubs raised its head, revealing eyes the color of amber. It locked its gaze with Lily's, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of shared vulnerability in a world that offered little mercy to the young and unprotected. "Are you alone too?" Lily whispered, taking a tentative step forward. The cub made a chirping sound that Lily interpreted as affirmation. She glanced around nervously, scanning the skies for any sign of adult dragons, but saw nothing except the endless gray clouds that had become Earth's new normal after years of warfare. Decision made, Lily approached the cubs slowly, kneeling beside them. Up close, she could see that they were even worse off than she had initially thought. Their breathing was labored, and their eyes were glazed with the dullness that preceded death. Without intervention, they wouldn't survive another day. Lily reached into her backpack and pulled out her precious protein bar. It was meant to be her dinner and possibly breakfast if she stretched it, but the sight of the starving cubs made her own hunger seem inconsequential. She broke the bar into small pieces and held one out to the first cub. "Here," she said softly. "It's not much, but it's better than nothing." The cub sniffed at the offering warily before snatching it from her palm with surprising speed. Its companion raised its head with effort, and Lily quickly provided another piece. For the next hour, Lily alternated between feeding the cubs small bites of her protein bar and giving them sips of water from her bottle. With each morsel, the dragons seemed to regain a fraction of their strength, their eyes becoming more alert and their movements less sluggish. "I can't take you with me," Lily explained to the cubs as if they could understand her words. "The settlement guards would kill you on sight. And I can't stay here. It's not safe for any of us." The smaller of the two cubs crawled into her lap, its body warm against her legs despite the cool air. The gesture, so trusting and vulnerable, brought unexpected tears to Lily's eyes. How long had it been since anyone had shown her such unguarded affection? "I'll come back tomorrow," she promised, gently placing the cub back beside its sibling. "With more food. But you have to stay hidden, okay? Don't let anyone see you." As Lily prepared to leave, she noticed a small pouch half buried in the dirt near where the cubs had been lying. Curious, she picked it up and opened it, finding a device unlike anything she had seen in the human settlement. It was clearly of dragon origin, a small, disc-shaped object that emitted a soft blue glow when she touched it. Unsure of its purpose, but recognizing its potential value, Lily slipped the device into her pocket. Perhaps it belonged to the cubs' parents, or maybe it was just another piece of lost technology in a wasteland full of remnants from a war that had claimed too many lives. The journey back to New Haven was quicker than the outbound trip, fueled by Lily's determination to return to the cubs the following day. She would need to trade for food, which meant she needed something of value. The dragon device in her pocket might fetch a high price, but something held her back from trading it. Instead, she dug through her small collection of salvaged items and selected a handful of circuit boards and power cells that she had been saving for an emergency. At the settlement's trading post, Lily managed to barter her salvage for a pouch of dried meat, a container of nutrient paste, and, most precious of all, a small medkit. The trader, a gruff woman with a prosthetic arm, raised an eyebrow at Lily's selections. "Planning a long trip, kid?" she asked, sliding the goods across the counter. Lily shrugged noncommittally. "Just stocking up. Winter's coming." The woman nodded, accepting the explanation without further question. In New Haven, survival was everyone's priority, and few people pried into others' business. That night, Lily struggled to sleep, her thoughts consumed by the dragon cubs and their chances of survival. Dragons were notoriously protective of their young, which made the cubs' abandonment all the more puzzling. Had their parents been killed in the ongoing skirmishes that occasionally flared up despite the ceasefire? Or had the cubs wandered off and gotten lost? Morning came with a light drizzle, but Lily was already awake and packing her supplies. The dried meat and nutrient paste went into her backpack, along with her water bottle and the medkit. She slipped out of the settlement during the guard rotation, a timing she had perfected through countless scavenging expeditions. The journey to the eastern ridge seemed both longer and shorter than the previous day, longer due to her impatience to reach the cubs, shorter because she knew exactly where she was going. When she finally arrived at the collapsed wall, her heart pounded with equal parts excitement and fear. What if the cubs were gone? What if predators had found them? What if adult dragons had returned? Her fears were allayed when she rounded the wall and saw the two cubs, still huddled together but more alert than the day before. They raised their heads at her approach, and the smaller one actually tried to stand, its legs wobbling with the effort. "I brought you something better today," Lily said, kneeling beside them and opening her backpack. She tore off small pieces of dried meat and offered them to the cubs, who devoured the food with desperate eagerness. As the cubs ate, Lily examined them more carefully. Their scales, though still dull, had regained some of their natural luster. One cub's scales were a deep bronze with gold flecks, while the others were silver with hints of blue. They were beautiful creatures, nothing like the fearsome monsters depicted in settlement propaganda. After feeding the cubs, Lily used the medkit to clean a small wound on the silver cub's wing. The dragon flinched at first, but then relaxed as Lily worked, seemingly understanding that she meant no harm. "You need names," Lily decided as she packed up the medkit. "I can't just keep calling you the cubs." She studied the bronze cub with its golden flecks. "You'll be Ember," she declared. Then, turning to the silver one, she added, "And you're Luna." The newly named Ember and Luna responded to her voice with chirps that Lily chose to interpret as approval. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of purpose beyond mere survival. These cubs needed her, and she had committed to helping them. Lily spent most of the day with Ember and Luna, only leaving when the fading light warned of approaching nightfall. She promised to return the next day and set off for New Haven, unaware that her actions had already set in motion events that would change her life forever. The dragon device in her pocket had been active since she first touched it, silently transmitting a signal that traversed the vast distance between the eastern ridge and the heart of dragon territory. In the following days, Lily established a routine. Each morning, she would slip away from the settlement with whatever food she had managed to trade for, make the journey to the eastern ridge, spend hours with Ember and Luna, and return to New Haven before dark. The cubs grew stronger with each passing day, their scales regaining their natural brilliance and their movements becoming more coordinated. They greeted Lily with increasing enthusiasm, bounding toward her when she appeared and competing for her attention with playful nudges and chirps. Lily found herself talking to them constantly, sharing stories of her life before the war, of her parents and the home they had once shared in a city now reduced to rubble. The cubs listened with what seemed like genuine interest, their intelligent eyes fixed on her face as she spoke. On the 5th day, Lily arrived at the ridge to find Ember and Luna attempting to fly. Their wings, still too small for sustained flight, managed to lift them a few feet off the ground before they tumbled back to Earth. Lily laughed at their antics, a sound so foreign to her own ears that it startled her into momentary silence. "You're going to be magnificent flyers someday," she told them, stroking Luna's silver scales. "But you're still too young. Give it time." As she fed the cubs their daily meal, Lily noticed that they had both nearly doubled in size since she had first found them. Dragon cubs were known to grow quickly when properly nourished, but the rate of their development surprised even her. Soon, they would be too large for her to care for with her limited resources. The thought of Ember and Luna leaving filled Lily with unexpected sadness. They had become her friends, her companions in a lonely existence. But she knew that dragons belonged with their own kind, not with a human girl living on the edges of a suspicious settlement. That evening, as Lily prepared to leave, both cubs became agitated, chirping loudly and circling her legs as if trying to prevent her departure. "I'll be back tomorrow," she assured them, but their distress only seemed to increase. Ember suddenly darted away, disappearing behind a pile of rubble. When he returned, he was carrying something in his mouth, a small object that he dropped at Lily's feet with an expectant look. Lily picked it up and gasped. It was a communication device, similar to those used by settlement scouts, but clearly of dragon manufacture. The device was active, its screen displaying symbols that Lily couldn't read but recognized as dragon script. "Where did you get this?" she asked Ember, who merely chirped in response. Before Lily could examine the device further, a shadow passed overhead, large and swift, causing her heart to freeze in her chest. She looked up to see the unmistakable silhouette of an adult dragon against the cloudy sky. Lily's first instinct was to run, but Ember and Luna showed no fear. Instead, they began chirping excitedly, their sounds taking on a complex, musical quality that Lily had never heard before. The adult dragon circled once, twice, then descended with surprising grace for a creature of its size. It landed several yards away, regarding Lily with eyes that glowed like molten gold. Lily stood rooted to the spot, her body tense with fear but unwilling to abandon the cubs. The adult dragon was massive, its wingspan easily the length of 3 settlement houses placed end to end. Its scales were a deep, burnished copper that caught what little sunlight filtered through the clouds, creating an almost hypnotic effect. To Lily's astonishment, Ember and Luna bounded toward the adult dragon without hesitation, chirping and fluttering their small wings. The adult lowered its head, allowing the cubs to climb onto its snout and nuzzle against its scales. When the adult dragon finally turned its attention back to Lily, she expected aggression or at least wariness. Instead, the dragon regarded her with what could only be described as curiosity, its head tilting slightly as if trying to understand the small human who had apparently been caring for the 2 cubs. After a moment of tense silence, the dragon did something completely unexpected. It bowed its head toward Lily in what was unmistakably a gesture of respect. I found them starving," Lily explained, feeling ridiculous for talking to a creature that probably couldn't understand her. They needed help. To her shock, the dragon responded not with sounds, but with words that seemed to form directly in her mind. "You saved the children of Theric and Alara." The dragon's voice resonated in her thoughts. "I am Corvus, brother to Theric. We have been searching for these younglings since the scout ship was attacked." Lily staggered backward, overwhelmed by the direct mental communication. "You can speak?" "In my head. All dragons can establish mental links with those they choose," Corvus explained. "It is how we communicate across our territories and with allied species. The younglings are too young to form words, but they have shared with me images of your kindness." Luna chirped and fluttered back to Lily, landing clumsily at her feet before climbing up her leg to perch on her shoulder. The cub's weight was considerable now, but Lily barely noticed, too stunned by the unfolding events. "Their parents," Lily ventured cautiously. "Are they?" "Lost," Corvus confirmed, a wave of sadness accompanying the word in Lily's mind. "Theric and Alara were diplomatic envoys, seeking to strengthen the ceasefire with your leaders. Their ship was attacked by those who desire continued conflict. The younglings were ejected in an escape pod, but we could not locate them until recently." Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out the disc-shaped device she had found near the cubs. "Is this how you found them?" "The homing beacon," Corvus confirmed. "It activates only in the presence of dragons or those with whom dragons have formed a bond. It seems the younglings have chosen you, human child." Lily looked at Ember and Luna, who were now watching her with their intelligent eyes. "They're special to me too," she admitted. "But they need to be with their own kind. They need proper food, shelter, protection, things I can't give them." Corvus studied her for a long moment, his mental presence gentle but probing. "You are alone," he observed. "No clan, no parents to protect you." Lily nodded, seeing no point in denying what the dragon had somehow sensed. "Yet you shared your meager resources with our younglings," Corvus continued. "You risked your safety to ensure theirs. Such actions are revered among dragonkind." Before Lily could respond, the air seemed to vibrate with energy, and she looked up to see more dragons appearing in the sky. 5, 10, then 20, their massive forms blocking out the gray clouds as they circled overhead. "The Guard of Scales comes," Corvus informed her. "They are our most honored warriors, sworn to protect our future. They come to honor you, Lily Barrett." Lily's shock at hearing her full name must have been evident, for Corvus added, "The younglings know you by your name and scent. They have shared all they know of you with our kind." The dragons descended one by one, forming a circle around Lily, Corvus, and the cubs. Each dragon was unique in coloration and size, but all bore the same expression of solemn respect as they regarded the small human girl. The largest among them, a dragon with scales as black as midnight flecked with points of light like stars, stepped forward and bowed deeply to Lily. "I am Zephyria, commander of the Guard of Scales." Her voice resonated in Lily's mind. "You stand before us as life-giver to the children of our fallen diplomats. By ancient law and new covenant, we offer you the protection of wings." Lily looked from one dragon to another, overwhelmed and confused. "I don't understand." "In our culture, one who saves a dragon's life is bound to that dragon forever," Corvus explained. "You have saved not one but 2 of our younglings, both of royal bloodline. The debt we owe cannot be measured." I didn't do it for a reward, Lily said quickly. Anyone would have helped them. A ripple of what felt like amusement passed through the mental link. Would they? Zephyria questioned gently. In these times of distrust and fear, would any human risk their safety for dragon younglings? You showed courage and compassion where others might have shown indifference or cruelty. Ember and Luna, sensing the importance of the moment, returned to Lily's side, pressing against her legs with obvious affection. The younglings have made their choice clear, Zephyria continued. They wish for you to join our clan, to become part of the house of Theric and Alara, to be family to those who have lost family, as you yourself have lost. Lily looked down at Ember and Luna, then around at the circle of dragons. You want to adopt me? If you are willing, Corvus confirmed. You would live among us, learn our ways, help raise these younglings who already see you as kin. You would have protection, education, a place of honor among our people. But I'm human, Lily pointed out, stating the obvious in her confusion. And we are dragons, Zephyria acknowledged. Different in form, but alike in our capacity for both destruction and creation, for hatred and love. The ceasefire between our kinds is fragile, but bonds between individuals, bonds like the one you have formed with these younglings, are the foundation upon which lasting peace can be built. Lily considered the offer. Life in New Haven had been a constant struggle for survival, with no one to truly care whether she lived or died. Here, among these dragons, she was being offered not just survival, but belonging, something she had lost when her parents died and had never expected to find again. If I go with you, she said slowly, could I help? With the peace between humans and dragons, I mean. A wave of approval swept through the gathered dragons. That is our hope, Zephyria confirmed. You understand both worlds in a way few can. In time, you could become a bridge between our peoples. Lily knelt down to look Ember and Luna in the eyes. Would you like that? If I came to live with you and your people? The cubs responded with such enthusiastic chirping and wing fluttering that Lily couldn't help but laugh. Their joy was infectious, breaking through the last of her hesitation. Then I accept, she told Zephyria and Corvus. I'll come with you. The decision made, events moved quickly. Corvus explained that they would need to return to dragon territory immediately, as lingering in the borderlands risked attracting attention from those on both sides who opposed the peace. There is one thing I need to do first, Lily said. I have a shelter in New Haven. There's not much there, but there are some things that belong to my parents. Photos, my mother's pendant. I can't leave them behind. Zephyria nodded in understanding. Family treasures are sacred. Corvus will accompany you to retrieve your belongings, but you must be swift and cautious. We cannot risk open confrontation with your settlement. Lily climbed onto Corvus's back, a position that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. His scales were smooth beneath her hands, and the heat of his body was a welcome contrast to the cool air. Hold tight, Corvus advised as he spread his massive wings. We will be at your settlement in moments. The flight to New Haven took less than 5 minutes, a journey that had always required hours on foot. From the air, Lily saw her world from a new perspective. The settlement looked smaller than she had ever imagined, its walls and buildings pitiful defenses against the vastness of the changed earth. Corvus landed in the wooded area just beyond the settlement's sensor range. I will wait here, he told Lily. Be cautious and quick. If you sense danger, call to me in your thoughts. Our mental link is new but should be sufficient for simple communication. Lily nodded and set off toward the settlement, slipping through the same gap in the perimeter she had used countless times before. The familiar streets felt different now, as if she were already viewing them from the perspective of an outsider rather than a resident. At her shelter, Lily worked quickly, gathering the few treasures she couldn't bear to leave behind. A tattered photo of her family taken before the war, her mother's silver pendant with its small blue stone, her father's pocket watch that had stopped working years ago. She wrapped these items carefully in a cloth and tucked them into her backpack. As she prepared to leave, the shelter door swung open, revealing the trader with the prosthetic arm. The woman stood in the doorway, her expression a mixture of concern and accusation. You've been sneaking out to dragon territory, the trader stated flatly. The guards found your tracks, followed them to the ridge. They're organizing a patrol to investigate. Lily tensed, ready to run, but the traitor made no move to stop her. "Why are you here?" Lily asked cautiously. "To warn you," the traitor replied. "I lost my arm in the first wave of the war, lost my husband in the second. I've got plenty of reason to hate dragons. But this war has taken enough children on both sides." She gestured to Lily's packed bag. "You're leaving for good, aren't you? Found something better out there?" Lily nodded slowly, unsure how much to reveal. "They're not what we think they are," she said finally. "The dragons. They're not just monsters. They care for their young, mourn their dead, value honor and compassion." The traitor's expression softened slightly. "Maybe so, but not everyone is ready to hear that. The patrol leaves in 10 minutes. If you're going, go now." "Thank you," Lily said, genuinely grateful for the warning. "For everything. The traits, not asking questions. Just survive, kid," the traitor cut her off. "And if there's really a chance for peace with those dragons, help make it happen. Too many have died already." With a final nod, the traitor stepped aside, allowing Lily to slip past. Lily ran through the settlement, keeping to the shadows and alleyways she knew so well. When she reached the perimeter, she glanced back one last time at the place that had been her home, such as it was, for the past 3 years. Then she was through the gap and racing toward the woods where Corvus waited. The dragon sensed her urgency through their mental link and was already alert, wings half extended in preparation for immediate departure. "Settlement guards are coming to the ridge," Lily gasped as she reached him. "They know I've been going there." "Then we must leave immediately," Corvus decided. "The others have already departed with the younglings. We will join them at the Central Territory." This time, Lily's ascent into the sky was marked by a bittersweet mix of emotions, excitement for what lay ahead, tinged with the finality of leaving behind the world she had known. As New Haven shrank to a mere speck below them, Lily felt the last threads connecting her to her old life gently severing, making way for new bonds to form. The journey to Dragon Territory took them over landscapes Lily had only heard described in stories. Vast forests reclaiming abandoned cities, lakes glowing with bioluminescent algae engineered during the war, and finally, the mountains that marked the boundary of Dragonlands. From the air, the dragon settlement was nothing short of magnificent. Unlike the crude, utilitarian structures of New Haven, the dragons had built a city that worked with the natural environment rather than against it. Massive structures curved around mountainsides, towers spiraled toward the sky, and everywhere there was evidence of their advanced technology seamlessly integrated with the Earth's ecosystem. Corvus landed in what appeared to be a central plaza, where Zephyria and the other members of the Guard of Scales were waiting. Ember and Luna bounded forward as soon as they spotted Lily, their excited chirps drawing curious looks from other dragons gathered in the plaza. "Welcome to Drakenzar, the first city of our Earth colony." Zephyria greeted Lily as she dismounted from Corvus's back. "From this day forward, it is your home as well." A new dragon stepped forward, elderly by the standards of their kind, with scales that had faded from their original color to a soft pearl white. The wisdom in the ancient dragon's eyes was unmistakable. "I am Thelius, High Elder of the Council." The dragon's voice was like distant thunder in Lily's mind. "The younglings have told us of your kindness, Lily Barret of Earth. They show wisdom beyond their years in choosing you as their guardian." Lily bowed respectfully, instinctively understanding that she stood before someone of great importance. "Thank you for welcoming me, High Elder. I'll do my best to care for Ember and Luna and to learn your ways." "You have much to learn, and we have much to learn from you," Thelius responded. "The path ahead will not be easy. There are those among both our kinds who resist the idea of peace, who cling to hatred and fear as if they were treasures rather than burdens." "I understand," Lily said, thinking of the settlement guards preparing to investigate the ridge, of the propaganda that painted all dragons as mindless beasts rather than the intelligent, complex beings she now knew them to be. "For tonight, rest," Thelius advised. "Tomorrow, your new life begins." Lily was led to quarters within the mountain city, a spacious chamber adapted for human needs, but still distinctly dragon in its design. The curved walls were embedded with crystals that emitted a soft, pleasant light, and the furnishings, though simple, were more comfortable than anything Lily had experienced since before the war. Ember and Luna insisted on staying with her, curling up on the large sleeping platform and watching with curious eyes as she explored her new living space. Their presence was comforting, a reminder that despite the strangeness of her surroundings, she was not alone. That night, as Lily drifted toward sleep with the warm bodies of the dragon cubs nestled against her, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Not the desperate hope for mere survival that had sustained her in New Haven, but a broader, deeper hope for a future worth living, for connections that went beyond convenience to true belonging. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of new experiences. Lily learned that dragon society was both more complex and more compassionate than humans had ever understood. Their technological advancement was matched by a sophisticated ethical framework that emphasized harmony, knowledge, and protection of the vulnerable. Lily's days fell into a rhythm. Mornings spent in education chambers, learning dragon history, language, and culture from patient teachers who adapted their methods to suit a human student. Afternoons dedicated to caring for Ember and Luna, whose growth continued at a remarkable pace. Evenings filled with council meetings where Lily's unique perspective as a human who had lived through the war was valued and sought after. The mental link that had begun with Corvus gradually extended to other dragons, allowing Lily to communicate freely within her new community. She discovered that dragon mental communication conveyed not just words but nuances of emotion and context that made their language incredibly precise and beautiful. Ember and Luna thrived under the combined care of Lily and the dragon community. Their ability to form mental words developed rapidly, and soon they were communicating directly with Lily, their personalities emerging more clearly with each passing day. Ember was bold and curious, always the first to investigate new situations and challenges. Luna was more thoughtful, observant, with a memory that retained every detail and a compassion that mirrored Lily's own. Together, they became her anchors in the dragon world, their unconditional acceptance helping her navigate the occasional moments of doubt and homesickness. 3 months after her arrival in Drakenzar, Lily was summoned to a special meeting of the High Council. Phelias greeted her with the formal respect that had initially surprised Lily, but which she now understood was the dragon way of honoring those they considered important to their community. Lily Barrett of House Theric, Phelias addressed her using the formal title she had been given as the Cub's guardian. The council has reached a decision regarding the future of human-dragon relations, and you play a central role in our plans, if you are willing. Lily straightened her posture, aware of the significance of the moment. At 13, she was considered a child by human standards, but had earned a place of respect among the dragons that many adults would envy. I am honored to serve the council and both our peoples, she responded with the formal phrase she had learned for such occasions. Phelias gestured with a wing, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the council chamber, showing a detailed map of the territories currently held by humans and dragons, with the disputed borderlands clearly marked. We propose a new settlement in the borderlands, Phelias explained. Not a military outpost or a defensive position, but a place of learning and exchange. A school where young dragons and young humans can study together, learn from each other, and forge bonds that will make future conflicts unthinkable. Lily studied the map, noting that the proposed location was near the eastern ridge where she had found Ember and Luna. And my role in this? You would be its heart, Zephyria answered from her position on the council. Neither fully human nor dragon in your outlook now. You understand both worlds. You would help us design this place, establish its principles, guide its growth. The younglings Ember and Luna, when they reach maturity, would serve as the first dragon representatives. The magnitude of what they were proposing left Lily momentarily speechless. This wasn't just an honor. It was a tremendous responsibility, a chance to help shape the future of both species. The human settlements, she said finally. They would need to agree. Many still fear dragons, believe the worst about your intentions, which is why we must begin with the young. Corvus, who had become something of a mentor to Lily, explained. Children who have not yet learned to hate. Parents who want a better future for their offspring than the war that claimed so many of their generation. Lily thought of the traitor who had warned her, who had lost so much to the war, but still recognized the futility of continued conflict. There were others like her in the human settlements, tired of living in fear and deprivation. It won't be easy, Lily cautioned. There will be resistance, setbacks. All worthwhile endeavors face obstacles, Phelias acknowledged. But consider what has already been accomplished through one small act of kindness, your decision to feed 2 starving dragon cubs. From that single choice has grown the possibility of a new era in human-dragon relations. Lily looked around the council chamber at the dragons who had become her family, thought of Ember and Luna, who represented the future she was being asked to help create, and made her decision. I accept the role, she declared, with one condition, that we start by helping the orphans on both sides, the children who, like me, have lost everything to this conflict. They have the most to gain from peace and the least to lose by embracing change. A wave of approval swept through the council, conveyed through the mental link that connected all present. A wise condition, Phelias agreed. It shall be as you say. The School of Two Skies will first open its doors to those who have lost their families to the war. They will be the foundation upon which we build a lasting peace. The following year was the most challenging and rewarding of Lily's young life. Establishing the School of Two Skies required diplomatic missions to human settlements, careful navigation of prejudices and fears on both sides, and countless hours of planning and preparation. The first breakthrough came when the trader from New Haven, whose name, Lily learned, was Mara, agreed to serve as a liaison between the school project and the human settlements. Mara's reputation as a war veteran who had lost much to the conflict gave her words weight when she spoke of the need for a new approach. Gradually, warily, a small number of human orphans were permitted to join the school, their guardians convinced by Mara's advocacy and the promise of education and opportunities unavailable in the struggling settlements. The day the school officially opened, Lily stood at the entrance alongside Ember and Luna, who had grown to the size of large horses and had developed the regal bearing that befitted their royal lineage. Behind them stood Zephyria, Corvus, and representatives from both human and dragon communities. The first students, 7 human children and 5 young dragons, approached the entrance with expressions ranging from fear to wonder to cautious hope. Lily remembered her own first encounter with Ember and Luna, how fear had given way to compassion and ultimately to a bond that had changed the course of her life. "Welcome to the School of Two Skies," she greeted them, speaking both aloud for the humans and mentally for the dragons. "This is a place where we learn not just academic subjects, but how to understand each other, how to build a world where our differences are cause for celebration rather than conflict." As the students filed past her into the school building, a beautiful structure that combined dragon technology with human architectural influences, Ember and Luna moved to flank Lily, their presence a physical reminder of how this journey had begun. "They're scared," Luna observed through their mental link, her perception as acute as ever. "So were we when Lily found us," Ember reminded his sister. "Fear can change to trust, given time and kindness." Lily smiled at the wisdom of the young dragons who had once been starving cubs huddled in the ruins of a war they hadn't started. "Yes," she agreed. "Just as one meal shared can lead to an entire dragon army adopting an orphan girl, one school shared can lead to a future where our peoples see each other not as enemies but as family." As the years passed, the School of Two Skies grew in both size and influence. Its students went on to become ambassadors, teachers, innovators, and leaders who championed cooperation between humans and dragons. The ceasefire evolved into a formal peace treaty, and territories once strictly separated became places of cultural exchange and mutual assistance. Ember and Luna, now fully grown and respected members of dragon society, remained Lily's closest companions and staunchest supporters. Together, they traveled between settlements and dragon territories, sharing their story and demonstrating through their bond what was possible when fear gave way to understanding. On the 10th anniversary of the school's founding, a ceremony was held at the eastern ridge where Lily had found the starving cubs. A monument was unveiled, a simple stone marker with an inscription in both human and dragon languages. Here, an orphan girl fed 2 starving dragon cubs, and a week later, an entire dragon army came to adopt her. From small acts of kindness, peace is born. Lily, now a young woman of 23, stood before the gathered humans and dragons, Ember and Luna at her sides as always. Looking out at the faces of those who had once been enemies and were now allies, students, friends, and family, she felt a profound sense of completion. 10 years ago, I made a choice to help 2 starving cubs, she addressed the crowd. I didn't do it to change the world or to forge peace between our peoples. I did it because it was the right thing to do, because suffering calls for compassion regardless of species or allegiance. A murmur of agreement passed through the gathering. What I've learned since then, Lily continued, is that the most powerful force for change isn't technology or military might or even formal treaties. It's the connections we form with each other, the moments when we see past differences to recognize shared needs and values. She placed one hand on Ember's scaled neck and the other on Luna's, feeling the warmth and strength of the dragons who had grown from vulnerable cubs to magnificent adults under her care. Ember and Luna taught me that family isn't defined by blood or species, but by love and choice. The School of Two Skies has taught all of us that education isn't just about facts and skills, but about expanding our capacity for understanding and empathy. Lily looked up at the sky, clearer now than it had been in years as the environmental damage from the war gradually healed. The future belongs to those who choose connection over division, compassion over fear, peace over war. It begins with small choices, feeding someone who is hungry, helping someone who is vulnerable, listening to someone whose experience differs from your own. As the ceremony concluded and the gathered humans and dragons mingled freely, something that would have been unimaginable a decade earlier, Lily found herself standing with Mara, the traitor who had warned her all those years ago, and who had since become a respected elder in the human-dragon diplomatic corps. "Did you ever imagine it would lead to this?" Mara asked, gesturing to the scene before them. Human children riding on the backs of friendly dragons, dragon younglings engaged in animated conversations with human elders, the barriers between species dissolving in the warmth of shared purpose and mutual respect. Lily watched as Ember gently coached a young human boy on the proper way to address a dragon elder, while nearby, Luna was deep in conversation with a group of human scientists about advancements in healing technologies that combine dragon knowledge with human innovation. "No," Lily admitted with a smile. "When I gave Ember and Luna my last protein bar, I was just trying to help them survive one more day. I never imagined they would help me find a family, a purpose, a home." "Small acts," Mara nodded sagely. "Sometimes they're all we can manage in the midst of large conflicts. But they're the seeds from which better futures grow." As twilight descended on the gathering, Lily, Ember, and Luna slipped away from the crowd, making their way to the exact spot where they had first met. The remains of the collapsed wall were still visible, though now partly covered with climbing vines and wildflowers that had reclaimed the once barren ground. "It feels smaller than I remember," Luna observed, looking around at the site. "Everything does when you grow," Lily replied with a laugh, reaching up to scratch the sensitive spot behind Luna's ear ridge that still made the dragon purr with pleasure despite her mature age. Ember surveyed the landscape, his golden eyes reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. "Our parents would be proud," he said softly, "of what grew from their mission, even though they didn't live to see it." "They would be proud of you both," Lily agreed. "As am I every day." The three sat in companionable silence as darkness fell, each reflecting on the journey that had brought them together and the future they continued to build. A future founded on the simple truth that compassion could bridge any divide, heal any wound, and transform even the most broken world into something beautiful and new. For Lily Barrett, once a lonely orphan scavenging on the edges of a suspicious settlement, life had come full circle. The starving cubs she had saved her in return, giving her not just a family but a purpose that transcended the boundaries of species and the scars of war. And in the grand tapestry of human-dragon relations, their story, an orphan girl who fed 2 starving dragon cubs and was adopted by an entire dragon army, became not just a personal legend but the founding myth of a new era of peace, a reminder that even in the darkest times, small acts of kindness could change the world. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.